Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV. As always, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Monday morning, we've got both our heavy hitters in the building. We're going to be joined by Andrew Parkinson just a little bit later. But first, we welcome old mate Benyam Kidane. BK, how was your weekend, my man?
I'm living good, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I had a good weekend. Was at the NBL yesterday, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix and the Illawarra Hawks. Had to go check out friend of the show, Mango Mathiang. Unfortunately, it wasn't a good result for the Hawks, but good day had all around.
Hey, that's nice, man. Good to see him back out there doing his thing.
Yeah, absolutely. He did come back from a horrific leg injury. I don't know if horrific's the word, but it was a pretty serious leg injury. So definitely good to see him come back. BK, we've got a lot of NBA to talk about. Let's jump straight into it. And we're going to start off with who else? The Los Angeles Lakers, BK. I feel like we have to talk about them because, listen, BK, you know what? I was looking at the Lakers numbers last night and this morning, right? So they started the season 0-5, and we definitely got our jokes off, me especially. But since then, they've gone 7-6, right? Now, look, they're still below 500. And look, they've been playing some I don't want to say much better basketball. They've been playing better basketball because those first games were horrible. They haven't had LeBron back. LeBron came back yesterday, had probably his best game of the season, had 39 points, 11 rebounds, matched a career high with 7 made three-pointers. No Anthony Davis yesterday. He has been balling out. We spoke about him last week on the show. They win their second consecutive game, beat San Antonio 143-138. Russell Westbrook also made some news yesterday, but not for his actual play on court. He was involved in a bit of an incident. We're going to take a quick look at this now here. Got that hard foul there from Zach Collins of the Spurs. Wasn't obviously too happy with it. And then he was bleeding pretty badly from his, I think it was from his forehead, just above his eye, as you can see there. As Zach Collins was ejected for a flagrant 2. Westbrook received a technical, although I'm not sure what he received that technical for. I think he was starting to question it after the game as well. Lakers had a season high 17 made three-pointers, BK. That's been one of their Achilles heels so far this season. What have you made so far? Not so far, but what did you make of the Lakers' recent resurgence?
In Westbrook's defense, if you're bleeding from the head, you're allowed to react a little bit. Okay, we can't be giving out technicals for that. But you're right. The Lakers have been better, but they still haven't been healthy. LeBron comes back, AD goes out. We still haven't quite seen the trio really, settle into this new groove with Russ coming off the bench, AD playing the way he's playing, and obviously we saw what LeBron James, has done in his first 2 games. Especially against the Spurs yesterday. He was fantastic. But all the pieces are kind of there. And look, maybe they're not as bad as we probably gave them credit for, but the shooting really has been the issue. But hey, if Bron's knocking down threes, if even Russ's shooting's getting better and they're getting contributions from other guys, I'm not gonna say it's gonna work, but they're closer to 500 now than they were a few weeks ago. Definitely makes things a little bit more palatable there in LA.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the guys that you mentioned, that has stepped up is actually Lonnie Walker for me. I think Lonnie Walker's having a terrific season. If you look at his numbers, he's putting up career best numbers in scoring at 17.1 points, field goal percentage, free throw percentage, and obviously across the defensive marks, steals and blocks per game. The Lakers need guys like Lonnie Walker to step up. We touched on this again last week. There's been too much of a reliance on LeBron. They need guys like AD to sort of be that number one, guy. When they come back healthy, BK, and we're hoping they all come back healthy and we really do get to see what they're capable of. Do you feel like they've turned a corner now?
I wouldn't go that far, but I feel like things are definitely better. And one thing that really stood out to me, especially during Anthony Davis's little run there when LeBron was out, was because LeBron wasn't around, all the other guys kind of had to step in, do a little bit more playmaking, do a little bit more scoring. Guys like Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker, having that little, run there where they have that responsibility of, hey, we can't just give it to Bron and let him cook. You feel like there's a little bit more confidence in these other guys, the sort of, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th guys in the rotation, having been given those extra minutes. So the real question is, when the Lakers get everyone back out on the floor, if they can get everyone back out on the floor at the same time, I don't know if it's that bad. I don't know if they're as bad as we maybe suggested to start this season. Do you think if they get healthy, this is a playoff team?
Look, I still don't know about that, BK. And, I think they won 33 games last year. And I went on the under for that this year. I didn't think they were going to win 33 games. I mean, they've won 7 at the moment. So, logic would probably suggest that they do get past that 33. But if you look at their last 8 games, right, they've beaten the Spurs 3 times. So they've played the Spurs 3 times in a week. So they've beaten them 3 times. They've beaten the Pistons. And they had 1 win against the Brooklyn Nets, who you would probably consider a top team. And then they've lost to the Suns, Kings, and the Clippers. So they're kind of beating the teams, I guess, that they're supposed to beat. And they're losing to the teams that you would think, they're going to lose to, bar that probably that Nets game. So I'm still not totally convinced, but you never know.
Hey, that's an improvement, because last year they were losing those games that they were supposed to win.
Listen, like we keep saying, it's still very early. We're only 20 odd games into the season, so we'll definitely have to see how that one plays out. Now, speaking of winners and losers and teams that are losing, we're going to take a look at the Victor Wembanyama. I'm going to learn how to pronounce his name right one of these days. Tankathon sweepstakes, BK, because there's some pretty bad teams in the league right now, or teams that are losing games. And, I guess the more games that you lose, the higher chance you're going to get that number 1 draft pick at the end of the season now. So it's a good time to look at the Wemby stakes, I feel. The 4 worst records in the league right now, BK, in the East, we've got the Pistons and the Magic. Pistons 5-16, Magic 5-14. In the West, Rockets, Spurs, and the Lakers are sort of, they were in that group, but they're starting to claw their way out of it, which is probably good for them because, strangely enough, as part of that Anthony Davis trade from New Orleans to the Lakers a few years ago, the Pelicans the Lakers owe the Pelicans an unprotected draft pick, which if it turns out to be a top 3 pick this season, New Orleans will get it. And if they end up with that pick, then watch out the rest of the league. BK, out of all these teams, again, very early, out of all these teams, which team do you sort of think is going to be the team with the most amount of chances of getting that number 1 draft pick?
Yeah, look, it's all about getting those odds, and the teams you rattled off, they're probably going to be there at the end of the season. That's the Magic, Pistons, Rockets, and Spurs. But I got to tell you, probably the Detroit Pistons. Like, we're seeing Cade Cunningham. He's not at 100%, and without him, I don't know how they're winning any games, and they're not. So that's perfect for the Wembanyama sweepstakes. But it probably will be those same 4 teams. I know the league and Adam Silver, came out earlier in the season and kind of addressed the tanking situation, but you can't really fight these teams. They're not very good, and they're okay with that, which I think is probably part of a larger problem. But a guy like Wembanyama doesn't come around every day. We saw just on the weekend, I think he had 30 points. He's leading the league in scoring, rebounds, and blocks. Like, the fact that his games are being broadcast, by the league, like the eyeballs that this guy is already generating, like, there's a reason these teams are okay with maybe not winning so many games.
Yeah, facts. Look, I think that's a good shout on the Pistons there, because if you look at their roster, and Kate, like I said, Cade Cunningham has missed some games, but the rest of that, team is still very young, so they're not going to be winning a ton of games throughout the season. One to keep an eye out for is the Spurs, man. Like, I don't know, the Spurs have had some luck. They had that year where they lost David Robinson to injury, ended up with a number 1 draft pick, ended up with Tim Duncan, and we all know how that played out. The Spurs were meant to tank last year, somehow snuck in to the play-in seeding because the Lakers were just so bad that the Spurs got in there by default. But I don't know, man. I think they're actually tanking for real this year. And luck's always been on their side. They ended up David Robinson, a generational big man. Tim Duncan, a generational big man. I don't know. They might end up with another generational big man, I think, at the end of this season.
Isn't that the perfect place for him, though, right?
Yeah.
To go to San Antonio, a small market, great organization, playing for Pop. Like, that really does feel like the fit. Yeah,
and I'm sure Tony Parker's already been in his ear saying, listen, you want to go to San Antonio.
I got a crib here, good. You?
That's definitely one to keep an eye on throughout the season. All right, BK, let's move on. We're going to talk a little bit about this it's not a new feud, but this feud has taken a new direction, and that's the one between Shaquille O'Neal and Dwight Howard. Now, these two guys well, I'm going to say these two guys. It's been more of Shaq just kind of poking at Dwight Howard over the years and throwing comments his way and sort of criticisms and things like that. Now, it's continued the other day. Now, Dwight Howard, as we know, is now playing in Taiwan. Wanted to get back into the NBA. It really didn't happen. He's in Taiwan at the moment. And Shaq took a jab at Dwight Howard. Now, Dwight Howard had 38 points, 25 rebounds, and 9 assists in his Taiwan T1 League debut last week. And on his podcast, the big podcast, Shaq said that Dwight is, quote, supposed to have 30 points playing against dudes 5'8". And then he likened the league to a lifetime fitness league, meaning it's not very good. Dwight Howard, I think he's had enough, BK. He hit back via an Instagram live post that went for about an hour or so. We're going to take a quick look at one of the clips right now.
O'Neal, Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal, senior, whatever your name is, Shaquille. First thing I want to say is, you gotta stop hating, brother. You gotta stop hating. I ain't never in my life came at you about your basketball career, your family, your kids, or anything of the sort. Because there's no need to. The world is too big to hate on another man. So stop hating. I saw a video of you talking about me playing basketball in Taiwan. And I'm playing at the Lifetime Fitness League. Do not disrespect my teammates in this league and these people in Taiwan like that. That is highly disrespectful. And it's hating. And you too old to be hating. You too big to be hating. You supposed to be Superman. The original Superman.
I kind of got to agree with Dwight Howard here, man. Like, I love Shaq, right? And Shaq is fantastic. He was one of my favorite players of all time. But I got to agree with Dwight here. Like, at this point, it's got to be personal. Like, he really just doesn't like Dwight for whatever reason, because Dwight's right. You got no reason to be hating at this point.
It doesn't matter. Time zones, what coast he's on, he's out the country. Shaq is still going to get him, which from Dwight Howard's perspective, like, it's probably been a lot, right? Like, and whether it's, you know, the whole Superman thing, the whole Orlando, like the connection between these two is there. But at this point, Dwight Howard's no longer a threat to your legacy, right? Like, this guy's, you know, over 30. He's not even playing in the NBA right now. Like, this is, I see where Dwight's at here, because there's no escaping Shaq for this guy.
No, like, Dwight's fed up, man. And like I said, you know, he's been relatively, he's right. You've never really heard anything about, you know, Shaq from Dwight's mouth. He's never instigated anything. If anything, he's only been responding to comments that Shaq has been, you know, saying about him. That's why I'm just like, just let it go, bruv. Let it go.
Yeah, this man's out in Taiwan. He can't get no peace. And to be honest, Dwight Howard is still an NBA player. Like, there's a lot of teams out there that you can look at and go, they could use that kind of rebounding. You don't think he could help the Brooklyn Nets? You don't think he could help the LA Lakers? I wouldn't be surprised if even before this Taiwan season ends, Dwight Howard's back on a playoff roster.
Yeah, I'm with you, BK. I definitely think he can still contribute to an NBA team. And I actually think he will be back on an NBA roster at some point this season. So, yes, I definitely agree with you. All right, my man. That's we're going to catch you again on Friday morning. Enjoy the rest of the week and enjoy these NBA games.
Yes, sir, my man. Always a pleasure.
All right, time to bring on our resident betting expert, the Magic Man himself, Mr. Andrew Parkinson. Parky, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. We had a pretty good day with our tips on Friday because we didn't make any. So we're okay. So you're sitting right on 39 and 39. You're right at 500. You're about where your New York Knicks are. So there's a bit of pressure on you today with your tips. You don't want to go below that 500 mark, mate.
Yeah, well, listen, but as far as that, the tips on the Friday, Parky, you can't lose what you don't put in. So
exactly. We gave some good future bets, some future things on some of those player awards. So there was still some money to be made.
No doubt. But the NBA games are back today. And we've got a few that we're going to take a look at, Parky. And the first one that we're going to take a look at here is the Washington Wizards at the Boston Celtics. And the Boston Celtics are $1.35 favorites. Washington Wizards, $3.15. Lines at -7. Totals at 221.5. Now, the Celtics are 15-4. Wizards, 10-9. There is no Jason Tatum today for the Boston Celtics. Monte Morris, Rui Hachimura, both questionable for the Washington Wizards. That will be game time decisions. Parky, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I still think the Celtics can win without Tatum. And that line has gone a bit shorter. It was out to about 8 yesterday and has come into 7. And the Celtics have won their last 7 home games. So, look, I do think the Celtics are going to win, but I'm not going to have a piece of that for them to cover that many points. What I do like is the under. The money has been coming for the under in this game as well. It was 224.5, so that's been shaved down by about 3 points. And it's and 9 of the last 11 games between these two teams, the Wizards and Celtics, has gone under. So my tip for this game is the under 221.5. I'm going to stay away from the line betting there.
Yeah, me too, Parky. We've been agreeing so much lately. I'm starting to get confused. I'm staying away from the line betting there. I do think it goes under, and I do think the Celtics still have enough to beat the Washington Wizards in this game.
Yep, no, I agree. But I'm sure there's a couple of games left. I'm sure we can find something that we hopefully could disagree on.
Parky, I'm pretty sure it's going to be this game right here because that involves the New York Knicks and the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies are $1.83 favorites. New York Knicks going into this one at $2.02. The line's at 1.5. Total is at 227.5. This one's live on NBA League Pass. Now, this is at Madison Square Garden. Cam Reddish and Derrick Rose, I saw just before we went to air. Tom Thibodeau has announced they will both be playing today. I didn't hear anything about Jalen Brunson because he was day-to-day with a quad injury, so I'm not too sure if he's playing today. Funnily enough, Parky, the Knicks are just 4-4 at Madison Square Garden this year. They've only played the 8 games there, so they're just at 500. But the Grizzlies are just 4-6 on the road. Jaren Jackson Jr. is back for the Memphis Grizzlies, so they will be going in with pretty much a full roster with the exception of Desmond Bane, who I believe is not playing. What are you seeing from this one, Parky?
Yeah, well, I think we may be disagreeing on this one because I actually like the Grizzlies. So I liked them when the spread was at 3, and it's actually come into to 1.5 now after that announcement that the Knicks players will be playing. So, and look, it is a home game. It's at Madison Square Garden, as you mentioned. Yeah, they haven't had a great record at home, and more importantly for the punters out there, they haven't covered the line in their last 6 home games. So I think that's gonna be 7. I don't think they're going to cover this one, and I really like the Grizzlies -1.5.
Parky, listen, as you know very well, every time I pick the Knicks on this show, they lose, and every time I pick against the Knicks, they win. So the Knicks fan in me is telling me to pick the Grizzlies. That's my heart is telling me to pick the Grizzlies.
You're going to go the Knicks, though, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm actually going the Grizzlies. I think it's going to be a double-digit win for the Grizzlies today, but I am taking the under on that one there as well.
Yes, no, I was going to get to that as well, and I really like. I'm not going to make this under an official pick for me though, because I took it when it was 231.5, and that's been bet down. The money has come for this under big time. And now it's down to, I think, it got down to 227. I think it's currently at 227.5. So I'm not going to make that an official pick, but I am actually on the under 231.5. It's just that extra 4.5 points or so. I'm not sure I want to give that tip out, but if you go on that one, well then at least there's something there that we've got a bit different.
Yeah. I just feel like this is an under game. I don't know why, but watch the Knicks surprise us now. That goes over. The Knicks win, and it's just going to blow all my tips out the water.
Well, it is surprising that the money came for the under because the last 4 games, the last 4 home games have gone over at Madison Square Garden. So it's but I think that total's been adjusted, and as I said, it was in the 231.5, and it's come right in. So yeah, I think the under's a good bet in this one as well.
All right, we'll see how that one plays out. Now, the last game we're going to take a look at is the Dallas Mavericks and the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee $1.38, Dallas Mavericks $3.15. Lines at -6.5. Total is at 215.5. This one's live on ESPN. I'm sorry. The Bucks. This one's a home game for them. They're 10-2 at home. No Serge Ibaka for them. Mavericks are 9-9 on the season, and they are absolutely terrible on the road, Parky. They are just 1-6 in their 7 away games this season.
Yes, and not only that, the Mavs played yesterday in Toronto, and lost there by 5 points. So they're not exactly that fresh. Whereas the Bucks, they played at home all the way back on Saturday, and they had a good 15-point win against the Cavaliers. So I think the Bucks are nice and fresh. They've been waiting at home. The Mavs have been traveling around. The Mavs are generally not a very good team on the second game of a back-to-back, especially on the road. So I think everything's pointing towards the Bucks in this one. They're going to be a lot fresher. They have to cover that 6.5 points, but I still like it. And as you said, the Mavs are not good on the road, and they've actually lost 9 of their last 10 road games. So that's a stat that's pretty glaring. And I also like the over in this one. The last 10 Bucks games at home, 9 of them have gone over against Western Conference opponents. So I think it's a reasonably small total at 215.5. Even though the Mavs are generally an under sort of team, they're a low scoring team. But I do like the over 215.5 in this one, as well as the Bucks to cover the 6.5.
I'm going to stay away from the total, Parky, because I would probably lean towards the under for that reason that you just mentioned, because the Mavs are pretty much an under team. There is an over-reliance on Luka Doncic, I feel. But I'm going to stay away from that one there just because it's going to be a little bit hard. Bucks to win this one here. Like you mentioned, the Mavericks playing on the second night of a back-to-back. Not a good road team. Again, too much of a reliance on Luka Doncic. I think the Bucks win it. I think the Bucks win it pretty comfortably. What was the spread again? Just give me a quick
6.5. Yeah, 6.5.
Yeah, I think they cover that spread.
Yeah, and the money has come for the Bucks as well. I think after, I guess, a lot of punters realised that the Mavericks aren't going to be that fresh. They're travelling from Toronto, whereas the Bucks have been sitting at home waiting for this one after a good win, as I said a couple of days ago against the Cavs. So it's all pointing to a pretty easy Bucks win, I think, today.
Yeah, I think so too, Parky. Well, we didn't disagree on much there today, but hopefully that just means that our picks are going to be correct, which is the main thing.
Well, you've jinxed it. You've jinxed that Grizzlies pick because, as you said, you're a Knicks man. You've gone against the Knicks. Whenever you do that, they always come up well. So we'll see how that plays out on Wednesday.
Parky, there's not many certainties in life, but the one certainty is when I pick the Knicks, they lose.
Yes, well, that's what I was hoping for today. I really was hoping for you to take the Knicks, but anyway, you reverse psychologied me by going with the Grizz.
Yeah, look, like I said, that as a Knicks fan, I hope I'm right, but from a punting perspective, I also hope I'm right that I picked the Grizzlies in that one there.
No, it is a big game for the Knicks, 9-10. It's a home game for them, so yeah, they'd love to snatch this one. It'd be a good win for them, but we'll wait and see. It'll be a good game. Starts in about 50 minutes. Yeah,
we'll definitely wait and see. All right, Parky, we're going to catch you again on Wednesday morning. Enjoy the games today and happy punting.
Yep, look forward to it. See you Wednesday.
All right, guys, that's been another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our great mates at topsport.com.au. We're going to catch you guys Wednesday morning.